everyone, my name's Christy. Welcome to my corner. Thank you for joining me today on this Flosstube Friday, and it is actually Friday, which is a nice change from normal, for Flosstube number 71. It has been 2 weeks since I have given you an update on my textile crafting, and I'm happy to be here with you. It's been a busy couple weeks that have seemed to both fly and also take forever. Like, February has been both the longest month and the shortest month, but I feel like that's how the past 2 years have been, and for some reason it still surprises me. My sense of time is completely messed up. So it's been 2 weeks. I have a good bit to show you and to talk about. I have some weaving, I have some stitching, I have some plans, I have I have notes to refer to, I have all sorts of stuff. So I think we're gonna get started. I wanna welcome my new subscribers. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for joining me on my Flosstube adventures, my stitchy adventures, and welcome back anyone who's been hanging out with me for however long you've been with me. It's been great to get to know you in the comments here on YouTube and also on Instagram. And if you're not following me on Instagram, you can find me in two places. You can find me like my daily stitching, my daily life. I post outfits of the day at Dr_Christy. And I'll put, that right here. Yeah, that's where I post my kind of daily stuff. I'm very active on that account. And then I also have a second account that is the spoolery, and that is my well, it's a couple things. It's my obsession with wooden spools, but it's also a business that I'm trying to start, sort of a crafting art business that in-person art business that I'm trying to start. And that has been pretty quiet for the past 2 months, but it will be kicking back up in March because I am prepping for a new art show that we have in my town at the beginning of May. And so I have to start ramping up production for that so that I can have a showing at that and have product and maybe sell some of my stuff, weavings and embroideries and jewelry and home goods made out of vintage wooden spools. And that's where the spoolery comes from. Basically, it's vintage wooden spools and anything connected with those wooden spools. So, I have ideas of all sorts of things I want to do with that. Anyway, you can find that stuff in those two Instagram accounts. This is a channel about embroidery and cross stitch and other textile crafts. Most recently, I've been really interested in weaving and history and the history of all of those things. So if any of that is interesting to you and you're not subscribed, I'd love to have you subscribe and stick around. First of all, I have a couple of serious things I want to talk about before we get into the stitching. And normally I would save this for the end, but they're important. And so I wanted to put them at the beginning. First of all, I want to just say publicly that I stand in solidarity with Ukraine. I have been watching in horror and dismay what has been happening in Ukraine. And yeah, so nothing that I say makes any difference, but my heart goes out to Ukrainians. When there's something that foreigners can do that will be helpful, I will do my best to participate in that. So I wanted to say that. The second thing I wanted to say is that I also stand in solidarity with Krista West of Avlia Folk Embroidery and her stand against racist images at the Nashville Needlework Market. And I'm bringing it up as a historian and also as a decent human being. So I want to talk about that a little bit. For those of you who aren't aware of what's happening, the Nashville Needlework Market is, I would imagine, the largest wholesale needlework, in-person needlework market in the world. And it takes place in Nashville in the next couple weeks. And designers and sellers go to, I think it's outside of Nashville, and stores, needlework shops come and they, purchase things to sell to other folks. So that's happening. And one of the designers was designing a historical piece from the Civil War called a housewife, which is apparently a sewing kit that soldiers would wear. And they would have the flag of the side they were on stitched on the outside of it. And so she charted both an American flag and also a Confederate flag. So people saw this and contacted the designer and said, this is a racist symbol that causes harm to actual living people and alienates marginalized people in the stitching community. And we would really appreciate it if you would remove this pattern from your your sales, from your repertoire, from your website? And essentially she said no. And Krista West contacted the Nashville Needlework Market. I don't know who runs that. And they basically hung up on her and told her to that they can't solve the world's problems, and hung up on her. And this, of course, is unacceptable. It's 2022, and these symbols, these racist symbols, are used by actual living people to harm other actual living people. They're not neutral symbols. It doesn't matter that they're historical symbols, they're not neutral symbols. And so I wanted to come on as your hopefully top 5 favorite historian with a floss tube, and just say that racist symbols, racist historical symbols, should be relegated to history. There is no reason why someone in 2022 should be selling and stitching racist symbols. And the Confederate flag is a racist symbol. It doesn't matter if it's your heritage. Your heritage is racist. It's a racist symbol. And it's similar to the arguments people are using to support this designer selling this racist symbol is that it's history. We can't forget history. This is the exact same argument that people used a couple years ago and still use when talking about racist statues and statues commemorating the Confederacy. And I live in the South. I live in Mississippi, and we removed our Confederate monument a year ago. And the problem with the problem with the argument that we need to keep seeing these symbols everywhere, or else we will forget history and be doomed to repeat it, is that nobody learns history from these symbols. We don't learn history from these symbols. These different symbols are used to celebrate, right? Statues are used to celebrate. Stitching is used to celebrate. And you get to choose what you're celebrating. If you're celebrating a racist symbol, that says something about you. So as a historian, I want to assure you that if Confederate statues come down, if we stop stitching Confederate symbols and other racist symbols, we won't forget. We won't forget, I promise. There are books out there that talk about this. There are museums out there that talk about this. We don't have to get our history from monuments and stitching. And I would like to point out that had the designer just charted an American flag, nobody would have noticed that there wasn't a Confederate flag. Like, there was no point. The reason why she charted the Confederate flag is because it doesn't harm her. And so if it doesn't harm her, then it's okay. I'm not linking to any of her stuff. I'm not interested in sending people her way. The designer eventually agreed to not bring it to the Nashville Needlework Market and to just like fold it up and put the Confederate pattern inside so you could throw it out if you wanted to. But she's still profiting from selling hate symbols. And so, that's a problem. So I don't want to send any traffic her way. But I just want to state that the Confederate flag is a hate symbol. And it harms living, real, actual people. And I will always choose people over things, because people are more important than things. People are more important than symbols. That's my official historian statement on the Confederate flag stitch at Nashville Needlework Market and that whole situation. I want the stitching community that I belong to be a welcoming space for people regardless of their race, ethnicity, religious affiliation, gender identity, anything. But I don't want it to be a safe space for racists. Racists don't need a safe space. So there you go. That's my thing on that. Moving on, I got some happy mail from my friend Gail Phillips in Australia. And I will post a link to her. Her channel name is Gail Phillips. I'll post a link down below. She does cross stitch and diamond painting, and she has a great channel, and I really enjoy watching her channel. I watch her diamond painting too, even though I don't diamond paint, just because I enjoy, hanging out with her. And I think that you will too. But she sent me like the best box of Australian snacks ever, let me tell you. So here's a picture of the Australian snacks. I posted it on Instagram. She also sent me a lovely postcard, and you can see her Flosstube right here. And she sent me a lovely note and warned me about the Vegemite. I got some Vegemite, so I've gotten some tips about Vegemite. And she also sent me, and I think this is where it started. We're exchanging floss drops. She also sent me some floss drops with her dog Monty. How cute is Monty? So those will go in my HAED, which is about to be kitted up a little bit more than it already is, and I'll talk about that in a moment. So thank you so much, Gail. And that leads me to long overdue Happy Mail. I have like 5 people I want to send Happy Mail to, and I honestly just haven't had the mental energy to get it packed up. So if I've told you I'm sending you something, it's all kind of, I think it's all going to go out during my spring break. I have a lot going on at work right now, and it's not that any of it's bad. It's just that my brain is very full and I'm having trouble, things that aren't immediately critical, I'm having trouble getting them done. And also my sense of time is so messed up. So like I'll think, oh, I'll get that done, and then 2 weeks have passed and I don't even really notice. So it's been a lot this semester, being back on campus and stuff like that. So yeah, none of it's bad. It just feels like a lot. So I'm going to get that stuff out spring break. I have a whole list of people that I want to send things to, and I will send that all out during spring break, which is in like 2 weeks. So I apologize to those who are expecting things. Can I still blame COVID? Because I'm still feeling like COVID. I took a COVID test yesterday, just a precautionary COVID test. So, you know, we're still in a pandemic, but I feel like I can't use COVID anymore, but my brain is still COVID. So that's my excuse. Anywho, so thank you so much again, Gail. I've already tried the Vegemite and cheddar crackery things that are shaped like Australia, and they were pretty delicious. So I'm hopeful about Vegemite. I've gotten some tips about Vegemite on Instagram. So hopefully. Oh, I'm pretty excited. I want to give away from Esther the Danish Stitcher, who just hit 500 subscribers. So if you're not subscribed to Esther, I will link her down below as well. She's fantastic. She's in Denmark, and she stitches really fun, nerdy stuff. She started designing her own patterns, mostly like Buffy the Vampire Slayer patterns, and they're pretty great. So I highly recommend checking out Esther. And I won a gift card to Casa Chinina. And so I was on their website thinking about what I wanted to get, and they have like flosses from companies that I've never heard of before. And so there are a couple like Danish companies. So I figured I'm going to get some Danish floss, and that'll be very exciting. So that's, I'll get that and I'll show that when it comes, but that's super exciting to me. Okay, let's get into stitching. I don't know if I showed you this. I know I've showed it to you. I don't know if I've showed it to you completely finished, but I completely finished my Poirot stitch. This is my embroidery, and this is a series of embroideries that are my favorite sleuths. So I love me a cozy mystery. I love Agatha Christie. I love Murder, She Wrote. I love Columbo, and I've started just stitching them up. They're pretty quick stitches and they make me really happy. And so I started with Poirot, so he's done. And then I have a new start of Miss Fisher. This is Miss Fisher's Mysteries. Franny Fisher, and she is Australian, and she is amazing, and she's in the 20s, so that's, you know, she's very 20s, and she's so good. This is done on a Essex linen, which is a cotton linen blend from Fat Quarter Shop in like bright white, and I am stitching it in cottons and silks. The bright red and the maroon, which I think I'm going to do some maroon jewels, are a silk, and the rest of it is overdyed cotton. So I'll show you what that is. The gold is Golden Ale by Color and Cotton. I have 2 Bestitch Me's. The maroon is Sangria, and the red is Red Barn. Poirot's gray is Dying for Cross Stitch Smoke. And the black is Color and Cotton Rustic Black. So there's a slight variegation. And then I also have white in here for when I need it. So that is the color scheme for these two anyway. I was kind of hoping that they would all be in the same color scheme, but I'm not sure that I can pull it off. The other ones are going to be Miss Marple, Columbo, Jessica Fletcher from Murder, She Wrote, and Sherlock Holmes. So it'll be a series of 6. And they're all the same size. This is an 8-inch hoop. They're all going to be, I'm going to paint some hoops black and put them in 8-inch hoops. And that's how I'm going to finish them. And they're going to be a whole series that I think are going to hang in my office. I don't know. I'm getting to the point now where I'm starting to have too much stuff to hang. So I need to find places to hang things. They might go in here. I have this whole wall free. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see where they go. I think I have also worked on my temperature drinks shelf since last time I saw you, although I'm not positive. I did not work on it in the past week. I did not work on it this past Sunday with my mom, but I may have worked on it beforehand. So I'm a bit behind, but not super behind. So here's my temperature drink shelf. And this is a temperature pattern that I designed for essentially for me, my mom, and Chevis of Cheverill's Stuff podcast. I love it. I'm so excited by how it looks. I'm doing it on just a navy 14 count Aida that I got in a tube, probably from Joann's. And yeah, I'm doing it in the called for DMC. You can find this in my Etsy shop, which is listed down below. I also have this is what it's going to look like. And I also have a temperature library that looks like this for 2022. And I have a temperature Space Invaders, which looks like this for 2022. Yeah. So this is my temperature drinks shelf. I may have showed that to you. It may not have gotten any progress since last time you saw it, but you know. It is what it is. I've also been working on my HAED, my Heaven and Earth design. This is part of a stitch along with Jessica, the Rainy Day Stitcher. We are both doing versions of this tapestry. I'm doing the Lady and Unicorn Desire, and she's doing Sight, which is a different version. My goal is to have this done in 5 years. So I'm going to talk about that for a bit, but I will show you where I am. This is where I am now. My goal was to get down here because there's a little puppy that's going right in this spot. So I wanted to get down there so that way I could kit this up a bit more and do the puppy. I love me a puppy. And honestly, I just want something on here that looks like a thing because I have not fully kitted this up yet. I have 5 colors. I have these. No, I have 4 colors. I have 814, I have 400, I have 817. Oh, I have another one too. I have a dark brown, which I can't see the number of. And I have black. So I have 5. I have 5 colors so far of 96 or whatever. And they're currently living in here, and I've been happy doing the background, and I'm doing it cross country, but not super far cross country at the moment, but I'm probably going to start doing extreme cross country. But I don't mind doing the background, and I like that I'm getting practice working on this fabric, which is a 20 count ivory Aida. It's in the called for DMCs, but I want to see a thing. It's about time for me to see a thing, and the thing I want to see is this puppy right here. I grid with a friction pen every 5 squares. That's how I am able to stitch and not make too many mistakes. I have made a couple mistakes, but they're I've switched a red and a maroon, and so I just don't even worry about it, honestly. And you'll never notice 2 red stitches flipped in 228,000 stitches. So my plan is to finish this in 5 years. It has 227,800-ish stitches in it. And that means about 45,000 stitches a year will get it done in 5 years. That's a lot. So I had to break it down. And I broke it down. That's about 125 stitches a day. But I don't record my stitches every day. What I do, I'm going to show you my my planner. So this is the planner that I got, the heavily modified planner that I got from the Black Needle Society Resolution Stitching Box. And I've done all sorts of things too. But one of the things that I have been using it for is I write down what I worked on for the day, right? But I don't count stitches. And I don't, you know, for my embroidery, I can't count stitches. And for my cross stitch, only my HAED can I count stitches? No, that's not true. I guess I can count stitches for my temperature piece too, but I don't. So I don't count. To make a long story even longer, I don't count stitches. But I found out that I was behind. I was like 500 stitches behind, like at the end of last week. So what I've done is, at the beginning of every month, I have written down where I want to be in my stitch count for my HAED at the end of the month. So in this case, I want to be at 73.75. In March, I want to be at 11,250, right? That kind of thing. And it's 125 stitches a day. And if I do this, then that means at the end of December, I want to be at 45,625 stitches. I'm not doing so bad. I can't look at my exact stitch count because it's on my phone, and you are on my phone, so I can't check it. But I believe of the 7375, I believe I have about 1,000 stitches to go by this weekend. So my goal is to focus on my HAED this weekend and get those stitches in, because I don't want to like fall behind in my stitching in month 2 of 5 years, right? Like that just feels like doomed for failure. And I am determined to finish this in 5 years. I am a product stitcher, and so I want this finished in 5 years. I want this on my wall in my office. So that's what's happening with my HAED, and those are my plans with my HAED, and that's my planner for now. I've showed my planner before, and this has been really helpful. I keep it by my stitchy chair, and I just kind of jot things down. When I have cross-stitch embroidery or weaving ideas, I jot them down. I got these nice tabs from Jessie at Mislaid Pages in a giveaway that has been revolutionary in my journal. So thank you again, Jessie. I have stickers. I'm going to make some stickers. I'm so excited. So basically, the Stitchy journal is working very well for me with some modifications, but I'm not afraid of modifying things, so that's okay. The eagle-eyed among you may have noticed this sticker, which is upside down. I joined the Embroiderers Guild of America. This is something that I'd wanted to do for a while, but there isn't a local chapter. And so the Embroiderers Guild of America is an educational embroidery group that is national but has local chapters, and I didn't have one. So I had looked for an online local chapter, and I contacted them, and they never got back to me. So eventually I decided I would just contact EGA. I contacted them through Instagram, and I just said, hey, like I would love to join the guild, but I don't know what to do because I don't have a local, I don't have a, like no one from the online would get back to me. What do I do? And she said, well, you can join, be a at-large member. And I said, that's great. You know, it has a lot of the same benefits of being part of a chapter, but you don't have the same kind of a community. But I have you all for community. So like, I don't know that I necessarily need like a stitching community. I mean, I would love a stitching community, don't get me wrong. But what I would really love to do is teach embroidery. And that's a thing that the Embroiderers Guild does really well, is they teach you how to teach embroidery. So they have some correspondence courses, one of which I'm going to take this summer, which is like how to teach embroidery. But I got my welcome pack and I'm super excited. And it came with some fun goodies. It came with a cotton bag, which is just dying to be dyed, I think, but it's adorable. So I got that bag. And I also got stickers that I've been using in my journal, but they're basically these images in color. And so I've been using them in my journal. I love me some stickers, for real. So it has that in it. It had the stickers. It talks about, I got this sort of pamphlet that talks about the benefits of being a member, including, my membership card, education opportunities. One of the nice things about being part of a group is that there are group correspondence courses. So everyone in the group is taking the course together, which means it's cheaper per member. And I can't do that. So the courses are more expensive for me, but it's worth it, I think. So I got that. And then they have a Needle Arts magazine, which is so inspirational. It just has amazing needle art in it. It has ads for other groups. It has ads for supplies that I haven't seen before. So anyway, I'm really excited about this, and it has some interesting stitches, and you know that I always need more stitches for my 365 stitch project, which I'll talk about at the end of this episode. Anyway, I got this, and what sold me, because you have to pay dues, and what sold me is that they renew, it's an annual dues, but it's prorated by the quarter. So I joined in February, which means that, and it renews in May, I think, which means that it cost me $12.50, like $12.50. And I'm like, well, shoot, how could I not join for $12.50? So I'm super excited. I'll talk about it more when I start doing some courses over the summer. I don't have time to do courses right now, but I'm really looking forward to that. And speaking of which, I love the history of guilds, like medieval guilds. So I think I'm going to do a medieval guilds video because guilds were a huge part of production in the Middle Ages. And I'm a medieval historian, so I got to throw some history in this. And it's not the first guild that I'm a member of. I'm also a member of the Wenches Guild and the Privateers Guild, in case you're wondering. I have a card and a pin for both of those. But I'll talk about those later too. I just kind of dropped that on you. I'll talk about those later too. I want to talk about guilds because guilds are so cool. They were quite innovative, and they were kind of like quality control, and they were like a community. They had rules and a community. And the textile guilds, some of them were run by women. Not very many, but some of them are run by women. And that's pretty cool too. As a women's historian, that's pretty awesome. So I will do a video in the next couple weeks inspired by my new guild membership. I will do a video on medieval European guilds. There were guild-like things all over the world, but I don't know about them. So I can't really speak to them. But I do know that they existed. As I said, one of the reasons I'm really excited about being a member of the Embroiderers Guild is that I want to get back into teaching embroidery. Before the pandemic, I started teaching embroidery at at my friend's pie shop, which has subsequently closed down. I mean, this was like right before COVID shut everything down. Like, we're talking, I taught a class on Tuesday, and that Thursday my university shut down, and I basically didn't go out for like 2 years, right? Like 2 days before we shut down here in Mississippi, I taught this embroidery class, and I want to get back into it. We're still in a pandemic, so this is kind of a long-term thing. I don't want to do it right now, but I would like to start teaching classes again, and I want to do it right. So what I was thinking I would do, if anyone's interested, I would like to basically do a beginner embroidery class through my YouTube channel. So what I would do is I would design a beginner embroidery pattern using 4 basic stitches and show you, and I would offer it for free. This is not going to cost anybody anything except for materials. I would show you from the very beginning to like choosing fabrics, choosing a hoop, choosing flosses, transferring the design, to the very end of turning it into a thing. And depending on what the embroidery is, I haven't designed it yet, but it would be like, a series of multiple videos that are not sped up. They're me talking through what we're doing in real time. So it'll be like slow, but in a couple months, you can learn the basics of embroidery. And my question is anyone interested in that kind of a thing on my channel? It would be no cost. I wouldn't be charging for the pattern. The pattern would be free. The videos would be my videos, they'd be extra videos essentially. But what it would help me do is learn how, like, practice teaching again, because I'm out of practice now with the pandemic, and I want to be good at this. I want to teach people how to do embroidery in my local area. I want to teach you all how to do embroidery. I know a lot of you have said to me that that I'm inspiring you to try embroidery, and I would love to give you the opportunity to do that with me. Anyway, if that's something that you might be interested in, let me know. Even if it's just a couple people, I'll just do it because it's something that I want to do as well. And also it's the kind of thing where they're going to be videos, and I'm going to have a playlist, a like embroidery class playlist. So if you can't do it now, but might want to do it later, it'll still be available. That's the plan. So let me know what you think. I'd love to know your opinion. I might do a poll on Instagram as well this weekend to see if other people are interested over there who don't watch my Flosstube. The next thing I want to talk about is Hildegard. I've been thinking a lot about Hildegard. I haven't touched her in several weeks, which sounds kind of dirty. I haven't stitched on Hildegard in a couple weeks, so I still only have the middle. Right, that's all I have. But I'm thinking of restarting her. I started her, I don't even remember when I started her anymore. December 1st, I think. I had wanted to start her on October 1st, which would have been the year anniversary of the last time I started her. And then I didn't because I had like technical difficulties. And my goal was to stitch her on 2 layers of fabric. The top layer would have been a really nice off-white linen, and the bottom layer was going to be this Essex cotton linen blend. I wanted to use my university's Cricut machine to trace it, and I just didn't do it the way I wanted it to do it, and it looked terrible. It's somewhere in the piles in here. So I put it down for a couple months, and I picked it up. I picked this was already pre-cut, the size I wanted, so I picked it up and I just traced it. I just did it by hand, but I don't like how it's traced. So what I think I want to do is see if I got a new silhouette cutter, see if my silhouette cutter and sketcher will sketch it for me better than the Cricut, better than me, and on the linen that I wanted to do it on in the first place, and then start it over. And I've been thinking about that for a couple weeks, which is why I haven't worked on it. For anyone who's new, this is called the Cosmic Egg, and the original is a medieval image by a woman named Hildegard of Bingen, who was a 12th century mystic and nun. I'll put a link. I did a video about her. I'll put a link up there. This is the universe. And so here's a picture of the actual piece, or the actual manuscript. And it's a geocentric universe with the earth in the middle, the firmament, and then this sort of surrounding fire. And if you watch my video, I think I read the whole thing and kind of go through the different elements. So check that out if you're interested. I had stitched this last year. I started it on October 1st of 2020, and I finished it up in May of 2021. And I sold it very cheaply to a friend of mine for his wife, who is a very good friend of mine's, birthday. But I want one for myself. So I'm stitching one for myself, or I plan on stitching one for myself. So that's the background of this piece. And I think I need to start it again. I'm not happy. I'm not happy with it. And for something that's going to take me several months, I want to be happy with it. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to try and do it this. I'm not giving, no timeline on that. Just that's a thing that's going to happen. And the nice thing is that if I sketch it out with my silhouette and I still don't like it, I'm not throwing this away, so I can just keep moving on this. And that'll work really great. I have done some weaving since the last time I saw you. I am gearing up for an art show. I think I mentioned that. I have an art show in May that I'm gearing up for. Oh yeah, I did mention it. I mentioned it when I talked about the spoolery. One of the things I want in this art show are weavings. And so this is my fully finished weaving. Whoops, as I knock everything off my wall. This is a fully finished weaving that is kind of an experiment, and it uses silk sari ribbon, and this is from kind of a bulky yarn from Michaels. This is a silk velvet, and this is some scraps of macrame cord. And it is on a quill, a weaving quill. So this is just kind of an experiment to see how I like it, and I do like it. There are some things I would change, like I would make this a regular stitch as opposed to a sumac stitch, but other than that, I really, really like it. So I think I'm gonna make a couple of these for my art show. This I've shown you, and it is in commemoration of the tree I had taken down, but I do like the natural, neutral feeling of this. And so I think I'm going to make some of these. I have some really nice pine needles. Mississippi is known for its pine trees. We have a lot of pine trees in Mississippi. We have like a lot of pine logging here. And our pine needles are like that big. They're like 5 or 6 inches. And so I'm thinking I might weave, you know, have some pine needles woven in. I just think that'd be really, really pretty. The other thing I would like to do that I've been working on is rainbows. This is my first one. I've been in a no-buy month, which has been broken. I'll talk about that in a moment. Oh, let's turn back. So I used what I had, and the goal is to make like rainbows, right? With using the pattern, using the texture, not necessarily the fiber. So the fiber will be a rainbow, but I'm not like weaving a rainbow in. I'm like revealing a rainbow with the pattern. Does that make sense? It's like a twill. Tweed? Twill. It's either tweed or twill. I don't remember which one it is. My brain's not working. So this was my first one. This is my proof of concept. My proof of concept was pretty good. So then I went out and I got some actual yarn to do it. And this is my second attempt, which is better but not perfect. I think because this is too, I think that either this yarn is too bulky or I need 2 rows of this. Anyway, regardless, this isn't perfect. I have something I want to do to try and make it more perfect, and that's where I am with my weaving. I'm starting to think about, make a list of exactly what I want to take to this art show, and so I'm buying supplies for that, and that's it at this point. And that brings me to my haul, and then I'm going to talk about the 365 stitch project, which is connected to my haul. So the reason why I broke my no-buy month, although I did start my no-buy month a week and a half early, and I ended it less than a week early, so I feel like I still got a full month in. But basically I realized that my art festival is 2 months away, and I need to start making things. The catalyst was an ad I saw on Instagram at Michael's for this easel. This easel is well, I don't remember what it's called. Artist Loft table easel. I'll put a link to it down below, and this is a picture of like what it looks like. But it is an adjustable easel. So it comes in this like nice with a handle form. It has a drawer to hold my weaving supplies to keep them organized because I keep losing my needles. And then this comes up, and these are adjustable. These here are adjustable, and they hold whatever's in them tight. So I got this because I just have a cheap loom from Michael's, and it hurts my back because of the way, let's put that down. Because of the way I like lean over and hold my loom, I essentially like hold it, like I rest it between my belly and the table. And just as an aside, how do skinny people hold things? Because I use my fat to like hold stuff all the time, and it is so useful. How do skinny people carry things? You must have really strong arms, because I am constantly like leaning things on like my hips and my belly. Anyway, so that's how I weave. And it's also how I stitch on my 365 stitch project on this frame. So I got this easel to stick my loom in and my frame in to help my back when I'm stitching. And I wove this I wove this with it on the easel. It was a game changer. That is normally $80. I got it for $30. So if you have a Michaels near you and you are in the market for an easel, go and get it. It's revolutionized. Well, the one day I used it, it's revolutionized my weaving, and I think it will really help my stitching. So this is my 365 stitch project. Hashtag 365 stitch project. Essentially, this is my embroidery version of my temperature library for 2022. And I have set myself a challenge to stitch every book, which is every day, in a different stitch. I have a link to my spreadsheet down below, and I am very, very behind. And I'm very behind for multiple reasons. I am trying to film each stitch and post these days little short videos. I think I've posted 2 since last time I saw you, and I'm going to work on it more. But it's been hard for me to film and hold it and stitch. And so now that I have this easel, I think it'll just be so much better. So I'm pretty excited about this easel, not only helping my weaving, but also helping my stitching. And that's so exciting, like really exciting. This is stitched on I think a 28 count Lugana, a white Lugana that I got again at like Michaels. And the reason why I got an even weave is because, even though it's hand embroidery, is because some of the stitches are counted and some of the stitches are not counted. So I thought an even weave is like the best of both worlds. I can do the counted stitches and they look really nice, and I can do the uncounted stitches and they will also look really nice. But I'm like literally like midway through January still. I'm over a month behind, and I don't think I've even updated the spreadsheet for the stitches I want to do in February. I feel like I'm relying a lot on spring break to get caught up in a lot of things, which is not unusual for me. I put a lot of pressure on my breaks. That is all my stitching. That's all I have in my notes, and so that's all I'm going to say. I want to thank you all for joining me. I appreciate you spending time with me and hanging out and chatting about stitching with me. This community is so great, and I get so excited when we come together and help each other. And we really are a community, even though many of us have never met each other in real life. It's just such a great community, and I'm so pleased to be a part of it. Oh, I also want to say before I go, thank you, Pam, from Stitching Land of Good Enough, for hosting the Fancy Folk Stitch Along last night. I'm sorry I couldn't stay longer, although I talk a lot in those Zooms, so I'm sure people are like, whew, I'm glad she left. Wouldn't shut up. And, you know, with Zoom, only one person can talk at a time because of, like, the Zoom algorithm, the Zoom whatever technology. So I'm sure once I left, there were exciting conversations that I would have ruined with my constant talking. So I want to thanks Pam for inviting me to that, and for everyone who I met on there. It was really nice to meet you and chat with you even briefly. I hope I wasn't too much because I'm a bit extra. Anywho, thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. I hope you all have a great weekend. Please take good care of yourselves and have a good one. Bye.